So I welcome you. You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome. I thank you for joining. Sorry, we had to fix some things. I'm so honored. Let me tell you a bit about our guest. She's a graphics designer. She's into brand identity also. She has 2 pages on Instagram. The first page is just her social page, and she has another page for her brand. Her name is TOSIN Adeyemi. That's her name. She's a Yoruba from Nigeria, and she's based in New York. So we're going to learn some things from her today. We're going to learn a lot from her today. So she will soon join us. In a moment. She will soon join us. And before I forget, if you have any question, you can drop your questions on the comment section. And all right, I can give you a little brief on like soft skills. Most persons, they know how to do things pretty well. They know how to do things pretty well. They are very good at their crafts. This does not only concern designers. You have to get that into your mind. This does not only concern designers. This has to do with everybody. Every skill you are in, whether you are into photography or whatever, you need these skills. It is for everybody. I tell you.
Hi.
You are highly welcome. I'm very excited to have you. I'm very, 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 very honored. We'll just get into the business because we're already late. So once again, I want to say thank you to you for accepting. Big thank you. Okay. So I want you to just tell us a bit about yourself. I already know. I know most things about you because I've been following you before. Even before I followed you on Instagram, I've been following you. The first time I saw you was on I was watching YouTube, and this Chris Du's show, The Young Guns. Okay. I saw you there, and I was like, a Nigerian is partaking in this contest, Young Gun. And I was very, very, very surprised. So I said, who is TOSIN? I got to Instagram and I followed you. I think since last year I've been following you and I've been seeing your work. Okay.
Thank you.
So hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes,
you can hear me clearly.
Yes. So
okay. So just tell us a bit about yourself before.
Okay, so like you said, I was on theFutur as a designer. I've been designing since 2016. Actually no, 2016. I've been designing since 2014, but I started the Toastbox in 2016. And yeah, that's pretty much been my journey. I started specializing in brand design sometime in 2017/18. And I presently work full-time as an account manager. So pretty much being more client facing. I do enjoy the creative side, but I'm more of a business person. I would consider myself more of a business person. And yeah, now I'm working accounts. So you started design while you were 16 years old, right? Yes, I was 16. Okay. So how was it for you? You just have to know a little bit of your background. The viewers, they just have to know a little bit of your background. So how did it work out for you? How did you start out? I'd like to know. So okay, the real answer to that is that I was 16. I was finishing secondary school. And in school, I think I knew that I wanted to be doing something visual. So I was doing fine art at the time. Okay. And sorry, I'm just seeing that one of my people joined. I was doing fine arts at the time, and I really enjoyed that. And I was like, okay, what can this turn into, right? Like, what can this become? I had people tell me, oh, you can own a gallery, and I was like, I don't want a gallery. Like, I want to be actually doing stuff. And then as at the time I graduated, I was graduating rather. My set had said that we should do a video type thing, like, oh yeah, like to play on our ground.
Okay.
So I started messing around in InDesign at first, like, okay, let me just see what I can create, because like everybody knew I was like design, like you guys, like, you know,
Okay.
your set, everybody has that, like, who does finance?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I ended up being that person. I was messing around with different like graphics you could use. And then after that,
Yeah.
I found myself really looking for where I could use my talents, especially being Christian. I was like, okay, how can my talent follow this in the church? Like, I don't want, like, not necessarily singing or acting. And then I decided to do graphic t-shirts, like Christian graphic t-shirts. That was really the first thing that started pushing me to like evolve as a designer. So I would design, like, you know, now, like all the standard t-shirts, and they weren't great at first, but like I kept on like training myself. And then what I now realized when I started doing that was that I was looking for ways to market the t-shirts. So I started designing posters and stuff. And I had like a goal in mind of what I wanted, the standard I wanted. So I kept pushing myself. And at some point, I remember it was my sister actually. I was like, you know, like outside this t-shirt thing, like, you know that you are technically a graphic designer now. Like, you know, people can actually pay you to do what you're doing for your business for them. And I was like, huh? And then she paid me actually to do work for her. And then after that, I was like, okay, like I can see how this thing works. And that's kind of how I did that. So that was 2014. 2015, 16, I started seeing, you know, how I can work with clients. And then at the end of 2016, I started the TOSIN officially.
So we'll just move. Soft skills. Can you just tell us a bit about soft skills? Can you just give a bit of introduction?
So sorry, I'm just seeing, I'm a little distracted by a number of my people that are here. So hi guys. But so soft skills, I would say a lot of designers tend to focus on. It's actually funny that you asked me to talk about this, because this is like something I preach all the time. But
I know I refused about you.
But yeah, like a lot of designers tend to only focus on, okay, can I use Photoshop? Can I use InDesign? Can I use Illustrator? And those are like the more technical things.
Yeah.
There's things outside of that help. Because the thing is, as a designer, and if you follow Chris Do and you follow theFutur, one thing you know is you are not just selling products, right? Like, you're not selling design. You're not selling as a designer, you're selling like a logo. You're not selling a flyer. You know, you're selling a process, right? Like, clients are coming to you with a problem and you are trying to solve that. And it's everything outside of your design skills that will actually help solve that problem, right? So how you're able to take clients from problem to potential solution to execution, like how you're able to carry them along in that process, how you're able to kind of make them feel at ease. Because I always tell people, you know, like, when you create work, again, it's that process. It's not just the product, but then on top of that, how do I work this? On top of that, it's the ability to make your client feel like this is a good fit for me, right? Like, it's the ability to make your client feel like, you know, like, this actually solves my problem. And again, I'm kind of repeating myself, but then if you're not able to communicate, you know, if you're not able to carry that conversation, if you're not able to ask your client the right questions in the first place, like, if you're not able to communicate why
right question.
Yeah, and if you're not able to communicate why what you've done is a solution for them, then you know, it's kind of pointless.
Wow. That's a big one. We have lots of soft skills, but for the sake of time, we are going to deal with 3 of them. And I think these 3, they are very important. And you might be viewing and you are not a designer, but I think it's very important, right, TOSIN?
Yeah.
For other fields, the first one, confidence, self-confidence. So,
okay,
I would like to know.
Well, confidence is more a thing of when you're in a creative service, right? Like, so even if you're not a designer, like you mentioned, if you're a photographer, if you're whatever, you are the experts, right? And I remember, like, I used to really struggle with my confidence, and I had a client one time that I used to defer a lot of like the decision making to, and a lot of like, just the process too. And one day she was just like, listen, I pay you, you're the expert, like recommend, right? Like tell me what you think, and we'll go with that. And it really got me thinking, like, I'm the expert. And this was a long time ago anyway. But if you're the creative service provider, right, like you're a creative professional, you are the expert. You need to be sure of the work that you're giving. You need to, because the thing is, design, like I always say, is intangible, right? Like design, creative services, they're intangible. A client isn't coming to you saying, oh, I want this, pouch, right? Like, give me this exact pouch and that's it. No, a client is coming to you saying, maybe I feel like I need to create a new brand, and it's because there's just so much competition. I don't stand out. Like a client is bringing all these intangible things to you, right? Like I had a client that said, oh, she wants a mature audience, but then her personality is very colorful. How can I make that? And a client brings you all these very funny things, and you have to make it work. But you need to go in confident, because you are able to recommend and say, what, this is what is a good fit for your brand. Like this is, I know for a fact that this would be good for your brand. I know for sure that this would be a good solution for your problem. And again, you can only do that by doing the hard work in the background of actually knowing what the best solution is going to be. Actually knowing, how to solve the problem, how to go about things. And again, that's something that you build over time. But then another side of confidence is comparison, right? So if you're not confident, you're always going to be looking for, the grass that's growing on the other side. You're always going to be looking at other people, looking at other professionals, looking at other designers, and thinking, maybe I should be doing this thing like this. Maybe I should be doing this thing like this. I'll give you an example. I tend to, if you look at my work, I'm more into like typography. Like my style is like leans towards typography. It leans towards word marks, monograms, that type of thing. That is my thing, right? And for the longest time, I fought it because I wasn't confident. But the minute I was like, you know what, this is kind of my thing. I like quote unquote feminine brands. I like not that I don't do anything outside of that, but this is what I like. I like typography, blah blah blah. And I really, really leaned into that. I noticed that my work got better. I noticed that people that were coming to meet me to work with me were the kind of people that I wanted to work with. So again, you just need to build up that confidence so that you are not filling your client with doubts, and B, comparing yourself to other people pointlessly.
I think 3 weeks ago I did a video on YouTube concerning design styles. I did a lot of research concerning design styles, so how people can find their styles and all this. And it's really true. What you said is very, very, very true. Because if you do not know, and if you not acknowledge that, yes, this is my style, you end up trying to do what everybody's doing, and you will be intimidated.
Exactly.
Right? You'll be intimidated by other person's work. Meanwhile, that is not your style. And we'll get to it. I don't want to just say everything because we'll get to it. There are some questions we'll get to towards the end of this one. So I don't just rush in. So how do you think confidence? We have some designers here that are currently viewing. They've not started out yet. And I know most of I watch your YouTube videos, and most of your videos is trying to say like how to start up. Just start something, do not be afraid, and things like that. So for a designer, like a designer watching this now, that is going to watch this eventually, what will you say? How can confidence help them? Why do you think they should be confident?
Like in the starting
They should be
phase?
confident to start out.
Honestly, whether you're confident or whether you're not confident, my own message starts. Like whether because confidence takes a while to build. So if you're gonna sit down at home and be like, oh, I don't feel confident today yet, like you will pen.
Yes.
You will pen. Sometimes confidence is a test of experience, right? Like confidence is, it's like, okay, I did this thing, the client liked it, it worked for the client. Like I remember like there was a project I worked on that I was kind of iffy about, because it took a while to kind of get there. But then the response when the client launched their new brand was insane. And I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. So sometimes you need that chip on the shoulder, right? And a lot of times we can't get that before we start. I would say at that level of when you're starting, it's really just the confidence in yourself, knowing that you're able to take on a new task and excel at it, and that even if you don't excel at it, you'll be fine, right? Like, how many people have you seen that started out a music career and had to pivot because at last you could not sing? So I think just try, start. I always tell people that even like with some people do start, but then they're so scared of putting themselves out there. If I show you the works that were in my original Behance portfolio, you would die of laughter. Start. There is delete, there's archive, there's all these things that you can do. Like the very first logo I created, I uploaded a bunch of times as per jokes. Start, do it, right? Like, and the funny thing is, there's value at different levels. So the people I created a logo for, they pay me what? How much? Right? I'll never charge that for anything today. But they paid me that amount and they were happy, they got what they wanted. And it's always going to be people. You cannot say, oh, you don't want to put bad design anymore, because there's always going to be people that are doing rubbish design. Like this, that's always going to be a thing. So start where you are. Sorry, I feel like I'm going into dark, but start where you are and evolve from there. Don't feel like you need to be perfect before you start.
It's like what you said with the first logo you made, so you are trying to tell the beginners that, okay, there is somebody out there that is in need of that your particular value in that. I get what I'm trying to say. Like, there's somebody in need of that value you can provide at that stage, even if you have not gotten that far.
Definitely. And I think
is that what you're trying
that's what I'm saying. That's actually what I'm saying. And I think on top of that, there's also, you can learn, like if you're really, really like in a place where you're not equipped to start, you can learn. Like you can, learn under someone. I remember I actually for a while was working with two designers, and they were both like in that learning phase, and they would ask me questions, I would answer. Like we would work on projects together. They would learn in that process. Like
learning from your somebody below you. Okay, you can learn from somebody above you.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say. So like, you can start doing work that can go into your portfolio. So when they were working with me, my whole goal was, okay, how can we get stuff into your portfolio that looks decent? And I would give them, so again, like these people were just starting, they didn't have access to certain kind of gigs. If I felt like, okay, somebody was reaching out to me for a gig that wasn't necessarily like within my income expectations, I would connect them with those opportunities and be like, are you interested? This is how much the person is willing to pay. And I'll kind of guide them to the process, right? So they would start designing. They would send me drafts, and I'm like, okay, do this differently, do that differently, do that differently. And they were not confident enough to have those kind of conversations yet, but I was kind of just helping them. Like it was kind of a mentorship type thing, right? So I think that there's again opportunities like that for mentorship. There's opportunities to, depending on your skill sets, work for someone. It's not by force to be a freelancer. It's not by force to work directly with your own client. So start however you need to start.
Okay. Wow, some values are being poured today. That's a very good one. You don't have to like start out on your own.
Exactly.
You can start out by learning under somebody, a design studio, or like an internship. So I think that's very insightful. That's very insightful. Thank you very much.
No worries.
So for saying confidence, how can confidence, even for a designer that has passed through the beginner stage, the intermediate and everything, and is a bit good with his craft, his or her craft. So how can confidence help one to get clients, or to attract clients, or to keep clients? Those three things: to get and attract, the same thing. To get or attract clients and still keep clients.
It's kind of the same thing I already said about you being the expert, right? So when you're confident, you position yourself as someone who can solve the problem. Imagine imagine you're shopping around for someone to fix your car, and then you go to someone You go to two different people,
Okay.
and one of them is kind of like, okay, you know, your break is bad. We would need to do this. Like, this is how long it will take. This is how much it will cost. And you're able to diagnose your problem, get a good understanding of your problem, and you know, give you a quote. And then you go to somebody else, and they're kind of like, maybe if you drop the car for like a day, maybe like you get like confidence. Your lack of confidence will always jump out. Your lack of confidence will always jump out in those client calls. And a client, especially the right kind of client, is going to go towards the more confident person. Sorry, I have a bit of cough. They're going to go towards the more confident person because that person gives them the the right impression that they can actually solve the problem. Remember what I said, design is intangible, right? So you're not, I mean,
yes,
when it comes to retainers, that's a whole different conversation, and I'll get to that. But with new clients, you know, like, yes, you have a portfolio, but there's no proof that, you know, you're going to be able to do that, give that same quality of work again. There's this whole thing about how people can get lucky, you know, like you can do one project and you're just lucky on that project, you know, or maybe the client came to you and the client already had something very, very specific in mind. So you didn't have to do the work from the ground. There's just no way of knowing what the process of getting to the work in your portfolio was, right? The only real test is when you actually work with the client, or if you were referred by someone that has worked with you. So in that sales call, you need to be very confident. You need to present yourself a certain way. You need to be confident about your pricing. You need to be confident about, you know, your ability to solve the problem, like I keep on saying, because a client is coming with you with a problem. And again, many times, like, confidence comes from that. Sorry about the background noise, if you can hear it, but confidence comes from that, you know, getting your hands dirty, doing it again and again, and knowing for sure that you can do it well. The other side is that retainer relationship, right? Like, so if you've worked with a client before, how do they keep coming back to you? Confidence, I think, comes in there in how you are able to carry the client along, how you're able to manage that client relationship, how assertive you are, and just the confidence that you give the client in you. So if a client has worked with you and the process was seamless, honestly, like, I guarantee you, clients have a harder time trying to shop for creatives for each project. Like, honestly, it is easier. I have clients that have told me, like, there's niches in design that I don't do. So maybe, like, I worked with you on your branding and I consulted for your website, and then I had a client one time be like, I want to do an app. I said, I'm not a UI designer. Like, I don't do apps. But and the client was really let down, like, oh, like, but no, I've worked with you now. Like, and that is how it is, right? Like, clients want to just have one person that they trust and keep going to that one person. And I think that if you are confident and you are, again, that same thing of knowing what you can do, right? So all my clients know that I'm not going to say yes to something that I can't do. But then if I can do the thing, I will tell you matter of factly I can do it, right? So that confidence goes a long way in making the client feel like, you know what, I'm making the right decision. Because there's a lot of nerves that come with hiring somebody that's delivering something intangible, right? But when you're confident, you alleviate those nerves because you seem like you know what you're doing, you're on top of it, and, you know, the client doesn't need to be afraid.
I would ask you a question now. If you were asked at this stage, okay, TOSIN, okay, let me say Apple wants to change their logo and say, okay, TOSIN, you have to rebrand Apple. So what would be your first reaction?
My first reaction would
We're
be
still on
like,
that of confidence. What would be your first
I would
reaction?
kind of be wondering if they don't have like an internal team. Like, Apple is a pretty big organization. I would want to imagine they have an internal team. But I'm very unlikely to take on that gig. And I know that might be a surprising answer, but I'm very unlikely to take on that gig. At the moment, I'm a one-man show. And I think rebranding a brand as big as Apple is a team effort. So I think, again, confidence is very much about self-awareness. So I'm aware enough to know that that's not the kind of gig that I'm aligned for. Again, my style of design is also not very suited for Apple. Apple has a huge customer base. Apple has a huge fan base. Like, Apple has, like, you know, like a very cult following, right? So when you're doing a rebrand, it's a very, very sensitive thing. It's a very sensitive thing because there's people who love the brand. There's people, you know, who already recognize the brand. There's people that might, like, if you don't do your job right, that might not be able to recognize the brand on shelves. when you're done rebranding, right?
Okay.
So I think that if Apple came to me, I would, have that conversation around why you guys rebranding, like why, what really is the problem here, and potentially, refer them to a studio that I'm familiar with that is a better fit for them, which is something I do, right? Yeah, that's how I would approach that.
Wow. We can't see your beautiful face. The light is not
I honestly, this is
like.
the best that I can offer you at this time because
Okay.
I am in a new
Okay.
place and I don't.
We can't see your beautiful face.
Let me see.
The viewers, they can't see your beautiful face.
I think is this better?
Okay. It's better. It's better off.
Okay.
All right. Better off. So, talking about that, that's a very good point, because if you are being confident, some person will say, okay, I'm confident. They would want to walk on water. Like, you understand?
Yeah.
I'm confident. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. So there are boundaries and there are limits. I loved what you said just now. And it's really a shocking answer to say, okay, I'll turn it down because it's not my. So I really like your answer. It's very, very straight to the point. Amongst designers, let's just finish this about designers. Let's end it here. The part for confidence. So how do we differentiate self-confidence from being proud? How do we differentiate it? Most times find this among designers.
I would say when your confidence starts turning to arrogance is when you are unable to learn / unlearn.
Okay. Okay.
Design is an ever shifting space. Design is an industry that is in constant evolution. Design standards are always shifting. Yeah. And if you can no longer learn, then you are potentially arrogant. And so remember what I said about having your design style and kind of owning that and being confident in that. One thing that does for you is clarity of who you can learn from and how you can learn. So if you now think to yourself that you are something, how do I word this? Like I see some designers, I'm going to try very hard not to be rude. I see some designers that say many interesting things about how they don't follow design standards, they don't follow design rules because they're experts and they're doing their own unique thing.
That's yes.
That's borderline rubbish because design is applied art. Like design is it's not just visual art. It's not just about doing. There's reasons why these rules exist. There's reasons why things are done a certain way. So being able to learn, have that understanding, and know when to break those rules, like being able to make expert decisions on when to break the rules. Everybody's constantly learning, even if you're not learning like how to use. It's not like everybody's always learning how to use Photoshop. Or everybody's always learning how to use InDesign. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Being able to keep learning how to maybe grow your soft skills, communicate better, change your process. Like I was literally consulting for a team of designers this past week, and these are people that are mostly way more experienced than me, that can teach me how to use Photoshop, that can teach me how to use InDesign. And they were able to actually listen to me because they knew that in this area of maybe professionalism, she knows more than us because this is her thing, right? So again, it's just about that, being able to keep learning. Like, don't ever get to the point where you are so confident that you are the beginning and end of your thought process.
Like me, when I teach, because I have some persons I teach and some persons I plan to teach, and I'm working on my course. I'm planning my design course, graphic design course. So what I tell people the first time is that I'm not here to teach you Photoshop. I'm not here to teach you Adobe Illustrator or whatever. I'm here to. It's not about learning Photoshop or this or that, because I've seen some persons, like you said, that can actually teach me everything about Photoshop. They can teach me the skills and everything, but that kind of creativity, like you said, is applied art, is not there. You understand? It's not there. So those kind of persons, some of them are actually listening to you. They know the in and out and everything, but that kind of I don't know if you get what I'm saying. that creativity might not be there. So it's not about knowing you might know everything. You might know Photoshop and everything. You might know how to all the tools and everything, even the ones that were not created. But it's something that you apply.
Yeah.
You understand? In different situations, you have to. It's very critical. You have to take different parts in different kind of scenarios. So I really agree to that. It's very, very correct. Thank you very much. The next one we'll talk about is communication. Very important. Communication.
Yeah.
Communication. Communicating with your clients. With your clients. So can you give us a little talk on that? Communication.
So communication is a big one. Communication is a big one. I think that people underrate
Very big,
how
very wide.
communication can make or break the whole project, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think for me personally, I've had to learn from many communication failures, because ironically, communication does not come naturally to me. I do not like texting. I do not like DMing. I do not like.
Is it that you are shy? Is it that you are shy,
Oh,
or
definitely
you
not.
don't
It's
just?
not shyness. It's very far from shyness. It's not something that I enjoy. It's not my
Okay,
favorite.
no, you are not shy.
I like emails. I like email threads. Like, let's keep things professional. Like,
Yes.
I will say on top of that. But anyway, I digress. And I remember on one project, minus even just texting back and forth, I had kind of gotten into this like manufacturer's mindset of design, which I tried to discourage designers from doing, of just training out design. And I had a client, and I designed something that worked, right? I designed something that looked good, that, you know, it worked for what she wanted. And we had a conversation, and she acknowledged it, that it was nice, like the work was good, but it just didn't feel like her. That's what she kept on saying. And like, I felt like I didn't, like, in retrospect, like I didn't sit down to actually, you know, listen and think through what she was saying. I really evaluate her as a client and her brand, right? Because it was kind of a personal brand. And then that was the first time ever in my career that we kind of ended a project. Like, we never finished it, right? Like, she paid, but she never used the work. And because she was like, yeah, like, you did good, but I'm not 100% sold. And that was a huge confidence hit for me. That was a huge confidence hit. And eventually I sat back down and I was like, I thought about it, and I'm like, I know I'm good enough to do the work that would work for this person. So what went wrong? And I started to really reevaluate, and I reapproached the project again on my own, and really started thinking about the things she had said, you know, bringing in my own intuition, and I did the work, and just as a personal project. And eventually I shared with her. She was like, oh my God, like literally, she's like, this is perfect, like exactly as is, it's perfect. And this was long as my project ended. And so that brings me back to my point about communication being so underrated. Communication isn't just about sending 5 million emails. It's not about sending, bugging your client down and, you know, chasing your clients all the time. Communication is a two-way street. Like, it's your client is saying something. Are you really hearing them? Are you taking time to listen and understand? Are you just filling in the blanks, or are you, you know, really, really, again, paying attention to your clients and letting them kind of be a part of that process of getting to the final product, right? So I think that for designers, you need to work on listening, like I said, listening to your client.
Can I receive that? Can I? You're talking about communication. I didn't know about that before now. Like, it's not only trying to text your client or trying to email them or something. It can also be like during the work process, during the project, getting like carrying your client along.
Yes.
Alongside.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So communicating by obviously listening to them. And then being an expert means that you're also asking the right questions. So if you're working on a project, you're not just letting your clients, you're not just telling your client what they want to hear. You're not just, you know, guessing what you want to hear, what the client wants to say. You're asking the important questions. You're asking pointed questions. You're asking, like, you're really, really digging into it. You're asking why. You know, and I think for a lot of people, like, they struggle to ask.
Of course.
Like, okay, so let's say a client says, with brand design is always so interesting. A client will say something like, I don't like blue. Blue is the one color that cannot be there. And, you know,
very annoying.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, again, the clients, the clients can be right in saying that. And it might not even be a
Yes,
color that you were
of
trying to
course.
use. But then asking
Yes.
why, like, why don't you like blue? Like, what is wrong with blue? It will actually reveal things to you. I'm not even joking. Like, it will reveal things to you because it can be, oh, blue reminds me of banking. Like people come up with all these things, right? Like, blue reminds me of banking. Well,
Yeah.
that insight, it seems so simple. Like, oh, I don't want blue reminds me of banking. But then as a creative, you're taking that information back and you're like, okay, well, the client feels like, what they do, they want it to be different from, let's say you're keeping fintech
Yes.
clients, right? And the fintech client feels like, all the banks are using blue, so they don't want to use blue, and that's why they don't like blue. They simply told you no blue.
Yeah.
But because you're an expert, you're asking follow-up questions to that, and okay, they don't like blue because they feel like all the banks use blue. What does that tell you on top of that is that the client feels they need to be differentiated from banks. What I'm saying makes sense. So asking those kind of follow-up questions will reveal insights, and that's really what communication is getting to a point of mutual understanding. On that communication, I would also say make sure that you're not just saying things. Like I tell people all the time to avoid adjectives, right? Like one of my favorite adjectives to kind of critique in terms of design is simple. Clients will tell you, I just want something simple. Hey God. There could be no greater.
Wait, let me just tell you. I worked this past few days. I worked with a client, and I did something for her based on, because it's very difficult to convince clients on something simple. Some might agree, but it's very difficult to convince some kind of clients. So I did something. It was a label for a product. So I did it. It was simple, straight to the point.
Yeah.
It was simple. So she said, this thing is not beautiful. Like, this thing is not beautiful. Like, I can't see, it's too simple. As in, it's too simple.
Yeah.
I was like, because it was kind of a packaging for all these your female product, maybe lotion and all this kind of things. So I told her, and the container or something she showed me was already very loud. Like, so if I put something very like busy and all, everything dancing everywhere, it will not be that attractive. So, but trying to explain to her, she said, no, this thing, no. She didn't want to hear anything I was saying. So I said,
yeah, what's funny
okay,
with things like that is that communication is kind of, sometimes you need to communicate visually as a designer, right? You need to like this communication topic can be a whole thing in itself, to be very honest, because again, when clients say something like simple, what does that mean? Beautiful, Mirabel, I love that you just said that. When they say simple, they want quick turnaround. It's not that they want like a simple design. And sometimes what they need is something simple, right? Like in this scenario that you gave, right? Like you have container is super busy, the packaging should kind of complement it in a way. I think that again, this is not, I don't know your client, right? So I don't know the best way to communicate with them, because part of what communication is actually understanding who your audience is. But
yes, of course.
I think that sometimes you need to kind of even give them visuals of, what, this thing, like, this is what this would look like, on this kind of packaging. This is what this would look like on this kind of packaging. And kind of be that expert, like, making recommendations, guiding them towards making the decision that is best for them. And again, back to what I was saying about whether something is simple or not simple. Simple is very subjective.
Okay, I like this point you just put in, like communicating visually also, because most persons, they don't know about that. And I'll just add this little example. I just remembered something. Sagi Aviv.
Yeah.
Sagi Aviv, this designer. I was watching one of his video, I think months ago, how he created the logo for Conservation International, right?
Yeah.
Yes, just a circle and a little dash at the bottom. So he did this logo for them, and it was like too simple. Prior to the one they had before, it was looking very simple. Even to me, it was looking extremely simple until he went deeper. I think he said for a couple of months they were refusing the logo. They were saying, "Ah, this logo is too simple. They want a monkey. They want everything there. They little bit close to what they had. They want to add more things." And it was like trying to convince them, trying to convince them, until eventually he made a video on the logo, on what the logo meant. He made a video of the kind of circle representing the earth. So representing the earth, and the kind of the dash representing. Okay, so he explained everything to them about the earth consisting of everything, even the monkey they thought about, that this thing can still have your monkey and everything, all your monkeys and everything you want, they are inside this circle. They can be inside it. So they did a little animation to show it, to visualize it, and the client was able to get their point, and that was how they accepted the logo. So it's very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
like what you said, right? Like, so sometimes you kind of need to show something in situ. Like, I tell people all the time. So I say a lot of I tell people all the time because I'm always preaching to designers. But I think that you should always use mock-ups. Like, you know, it's like if it takes an animation to be able to show what you're envisioning, sometimes, you know, that's necessary. So do whatever you need to do to paint the picture to your clients. I literally was just writing something yesterday about how a client is not a creative. Like, even if you have a creative
Okay.
client, when they're working on a project, they are not a
That's true.
creative. So you
Yeah,
should never be
that's true.
relying on a client's imagination to pitch your
Wow.
work. You know, if your work
Yeah.
cannot stand by itself, like cannot be understood in and of itself, whatever you're presenting cannot be understood in and of itself, then you've not done your due
Yeah.
diligence, right? Like, you need to be able to show a client, you know, just point blank, like, this is what I'm trying to pitch to you. Or communicate in one way or the other. Sometimes it's with your words, sometimes it's with mood boards, with graphics, whatever you're doing, just make sure that, you know, it's very clear and your client doesn't have to be imagining. Because once your client is imagining, that can be very dangerous. You don't know how your
Yeah.
client's mind works. And yeah, very unpredictable.
Wow, that's very, very, very nice. I wonder how many projects, how many great projects we did for clients that we have thrown away because we didn't actually visualize we didn't visualize it to them. How many wonderful because there are some projects why the client is saying no, you just know that this is the right thing. There's no way we can't do another thing. This is the one that will perfectly match, and you're trying to like, but
I had one like that.
with the hope of like visualizing it, like this is what I mean, because like you said, the clients, they are not creatives. They cannot imagine like us. They cannot think far. They don't want to stress themselves. They don't want to stress their
And they
brains.
shouldn't have
So
to. That's why they paid you.
okay, how can communication help us to like get clients?
I think it's a lot of the things that we've already kind of talked about. So again, being able to communicate that value, being able to communicate very, very clearly. Because again,
Okay.
like I've said 5 million times on this call, design is intangible, especially when you haven't even begun the project, right? Like, a lot of what you're going to do for clients is intangible. So in that early phase, all you're riding on is being able
Yeah.
to communicate how you can solve the client's
Yeah.
problem. So and a lot of people, like, I've had conversations around, okay, well, if we're making a proposal and the proposal is in depth, is that in depth, a client can always just take that and run to another designer to get it done. I would say, honestly, like, if you are dealing with that kind of client, it's better to just let them go. But then, more importantly, is you're not just communicating what the solve is, you're communicating how you come in, what your expertise is,
Okay.
how you, the specific designer, is the problem solver for that issue, right? So I think that in that beginning phase, again, design is very intangible. You need to do your due diligence of being able to kind of take your clients on that journey. I'm trying to not give off too much, but I do have a course that's coming out at the end of the year that covers this type of stuff. It's literally a course on the client journey. And I've been working on it. So ironically, lots of the material, a lot of what I'm saying is material from that course. But anyway, you just need to be able to communicate.
When will it be out?
In December. But you hear more about it.
December.
Where I go?
You have to tell us.
You hear more about it as the as time goes on. But it is in progress, very much so. It's going to be. I don't have all the details yet, but I'm. I believe it's going live in December. Anyway, that's an aside. But I think that. I think that we need to make sure that communicating your value, and communicating. So, for instance, maybe it's a beauty brand, right? Like, what projects have you done? What's your proof? Like your social proof. Like just being very, very clear about your value add, and how that aligns with the client and your potential client's needs.
You talked about humor, like having a sense of humor in one of your videos, and I found it very, very lacking in some designers. You were saying something. You were talking to Chris's colleague. And I told him you were talking to one of your designers, and
I'm trying to write this video.
The question was like you asking him if I have another client from another culture, another this, another that, how do I communicate to them? Because if I am talking to a client in like
I know the call with
the same culture, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
In that have the same culture with me, it's easier for me because I have that sense of humor. I know what to just play with and all this and all that. So I remember
that was a
really
long time ago. But I think that's what I was a long time ago.
I'm telling you.
Since that time, my sense of humor has gotten more global.
Yes.
So I really
now you
asking that question.
My
sense of humor has become more global. But that was just bad. But more importantly, I would say that I don't rely too much on the sense of humor. Like I don't like, if you're speaking specifically about humor, I don't think you should rely too much on that, because I think that element kind of comes with familiarity. The more you speak to a client, the more familiar you are, the more you kind of know the kind of funny things you can say here and there to carry that process. I think for someone like me, for someone like me, I used to depend too much on humor to build relationships. Maybe I don't remember, to be honest. But I think more than that, just kind of being a nice person is probably more important. And niceness is a very global thing. Saying your hellos, being culturally aware is important though, to make sure that things translate across different cultures. Because there's things that you may think are normal. Like I'll give you an example. And I don't want to delve too deep into this, but for people, in Nigeria, like it's kind of commonplace to assume somebody's pronoun, right? So, you might just say, "Oh, hey, I saw like her," or whatever. Like, but here it's a bigger deal. Right? Yeah, like it's a bigger deal. You kind of ideally wait for someone to kind of introduce themselves or to posture that they are a certain, pronoun. So that can be make or break. Like, so you can be being very nice, but then maybe you are dealing with two stakeholders and you're saying, "Oh, TOSIN said she," and it doesn't bode well because the person doesn't identify as she. So I think that just being culturally aware, knowing the different nuances between cultures, and prioritizing just being more polite, professional, like those are the things that should come first. And I would say if you are working with a new client in a new demographic, like it doesn't hurt to do just a little bit of research, nothing too extensive. Like don't try to be over friendly in the beginning. Don't try to do too much. Like I find that some people do too much. Like I sometimes I get some emails and I'm just like it's okay. Like you just said hi, I would have answered you.
There should be a boundary, right?
Yeah,
There's a boundary.
don't overdo it.
Okay.
Except it's a context that you're very familiar with, right? So if you were writing to a Nigerian and you're Nigerian, you know, it's kind of
Okay.
easy to do that. But I don't think it needs to be that way for, you know, you to have a
Okay.
successful relationship with a potential client. No.
The last but not the least, and last is reliability. Reliability. I've seen a lot of situation, and I've passed through that myself. I've passed through that myself. Like having a client that maybe gives you a job the first time and the second time. And you know, we as designers, most times we are busy. And one interesting thing is that we creatives we easily
Oh
get
God.
bored. We easily get bored. So if a client is giving us a certain like kind of work, like maybe the first time, the second time, the third time, we easily get bored and we begin to lose interest. And you find out the client begin to say that, okay, this guy is no longer able to deliver. Why are you wasting time? This and that, this and that. We sometimes I'll just say everything together. Sometimes we are okay, we are picky. I know there's something like your design style or something, but we are picky when we begin to have a particular kind of job consistent, because this only this kind of job, we get bored and we begin to like this client and want to go for new things and all that. And sometimes we might find the job interesting, but because of the issue of, let's say, time, and we might not be reliable. Client might find it not reliable. And before you speak, I'll just give an example. I know you must have seen it too, where some persons they might not be up to, they might not be very good. Let me just use this word. They might not be very good, but some clients tend to appreciate those kind of persons because in the area of like delivering, in the area of like delivering jobs, they can like you give them job, the next day they have delivered it. The job might not be that quality, but at least it was delivered in time, and you know that client said do this, do this, do that, and they just did. And they, so what will you tell us about
Being
reliability? Yeah, being reliable.
the first thing I
That
would say is, as a designer, again, you're trying to position yourself as an expert, right? You're
yes,
trying to position yourself as
yes.
a professional.
Mm,
You are not a
yes.
maker tailor. You are not a plumber. Like, don't
They are not
bring that kind of
a
energy to your. You are
wow.
not a maker tailor, right? Like I said, you know how that running joke about Nigerian tailors, they don't,
Yeah.
if you give a tailor your dress and you want it on Sunday, prepare to collect
Yes.
it next time. Um,
Yeah.
so don't ever put yourself in a position where a client is chasing you.
Okay.
Don't ever put yourself in a position where a client is chasing you. It's just not cute, it's not pretty, it's unnecessary. Back to the point of communication, carry your client along, let the client know where you are in the project. We all fall guilty of it as designers. Like, a lot of what you said is true across the board. A lot of us, you know, are chasing that thrill. Design is very much a career that demands creativity on demand. You are not always in the headspace to deliver creativity on demand. It's a lot. But that's where communication comes in, right? Being able to communicate that
Okay.
something's taking longer than it should,
Of
being able to
course.
communicate accurately, so not over promising. So you know that you're a designer, you know that
Of
if you're
course.
doing something that's net new, you might not get an
Yes.
idea for 3 days. And then when you get your idea in 3 days, you might need to iterate, you know, keep changing things. You know these things. Like, you know, if you're being honest with yourself. Don't now
Yes.
tell the clients what they want to hear. Don't tell the clients, oh, it's ready in 5 days, when you know that it typically will take you 4 days to even get the idea. Why can't you
Yes.
doing that to yourself and to the client? And then in terms of just like extended projects, it is better to end the relationship than to spoil the relationship, right? So I've had to do that a few
Yes.
times. And I don't know why designers struggle to end things or to say no.
Telling
I have no qualms. I have no qualms. If I know that I cannot deliver, I don't want to stress myself. I don't want to stress my life. Like, if you get, I will tell you. I was, because it's better. Do you get, like, it's just say no. like, I can't do this work right now. I'm swamped.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth. Oh, sometimes I'll ask if the client I really was working, like, when do you need it by? Like, to be very honest, I have like a bunch of ongoing projects, especially for someone like me
Okay.
that was also in school while I was doing design. It was not
Wow.
realistic. Certain things are not realistic. Let's say I had finals coming up, right? Like,
Okay. Yes.
I have to tell your clients, like, sometimes it depends on my relationship with clients. I will say, like, listen, like, I have exams. I have exams, and this is your job. Okay, I won't say it that way, but like, I'll just kind of say, like, you know what, I have exams, and I kind of need to prioritize that for now. And yeah, so I think that you should be honest with yourself and be honest with your clients. Be straightforward. Don't try and present this larger than life
Wow.
impression. Just and I'm seeing somebody here saying lose cash. Honestly, it's better to lose cash than
Need
to lose
cash.
peace of mind.
And lose the bomb of cash.
Better lose it than lose, because it's also like sometimes the client will respect that. I've turned down certain clients that have come back later to work with me at the time that we couldn't work well together. Like, it is what it is. Like, and when I say this thing, a lot of people say, come and do giveaway, like, you've blown. I honestly, like, this thing is something I believe in so much that my accounts can be empty and I will turn down work. Like, no qualms, because it will cost you more in the long run. This is something that I've tried, I have tested, and I know it. It will cost you more in the long run if you cannot do a project, or if it's that important to you, go and fix everything in your life that's not going to let you do that project 100% before you take on the gig, right? So make sure that, you know, you're doing that. And then also, again, back to your point about, you know, being tired of something. Like I said, don't be afraid to end a relationship if it's not working out, or outsource the work. That's another hack that people don't tell you all the time. Outsource the work. Maybe you don't want to disappoint the clients, but you think that, you know, your perspective is no longer fresh. You've overdone
Yes.
it. You are like an overworked engine. Bring in, say, someone that you mentor. Bring in someone that you trust, a designer that you worked with. Get them on the project.
Yes.
Take a cut of the pay, but by all means, I have even done some where I have given, like, I have not made any money from the exchange, but I've been like, bringing in another designer helps you to maintain that relationship, because there's that fear that this is a returning client and a significant source of income. Then if I don't work with them this time, they may go and find another designer for this time, and then I will not have competition. You want to avoid
Yes.
that. Bring in somebody to do the work. You just be the broker, so that by the time that project ends, they come to you the next time. And obviously make sure that the client, the designer that you kind of have that kind of arrangement with, knows that it is still your client. You know, you still have the say. You become their client. Your client is not their client. You become the client. So you are the one telling them, you know, like, this should be this way or that should be this way. If they are doing something that, you know, your client is not going to, like, call it out. But outside of all that, by all means, right, like, do the project with a different designer and maintain that relationship. Maybe by the next time your client comes around, you know, you're in a better space to do the work.
Relationship. Wow. So maintaining is all about maintaining the relationship, and what you said earlier, like, not going into the project if you know you'll not be able to finish it, just for the sake of keeping your, should I say, name, maintaining that name you have. It's better not to just get into the project than just get into it and you know that, no, I can't finish it. And somebody said, what if you need the money? But I've actually seen some money that can put you into more problems. I've seen some money that you are saving put you into more problems than even the money you needed.
That money thing, me saying it, I know what I'm saying, what I'm saying. I remember one time I fell into that trap of simple work. I can honestly do a whole sermon on the dangers of simple work. This client came, and said, it's going to be simple. It's going to be simple. I just want something simple. And first of all, I undercharged. But I was just like, see, like, I had just spent, like, student life, I had just gone through, I can't remember what it was, but I know I had just made some big expenses. And I was like, I just need money in my account. And I charged half of what I would typically charge because it was for work. And then on top of that, we start this project, and I didn't even have the bandwidth. I can't remember the specifics of my situation at the time, but I didn't have the bandwidth because I said, it's simple, let me quickly do it, make a quick buck, and, move on with my life. And then now moving on with my life was the hard part though. This project lasted probably twice as long as my average project would last. And that's a very long time for a branding project. And client kept on asking, like, typically I do 2 logo versions. On this gig, I think about 6. Hey God. It would define, let's get to define now. She said, no, I don't like this blue. No, and it was a very anti-type client, right? Like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. At the beginning of this thing, I had confidence. Now I'm not happy. You will pay. You will be there. You will be there so long that it will shock you that, wow, I'm still here. No. Certain projects, if you don't have the body, just don't take it on. Because another thing was, because I didn't have the time, I didn't onboard the way I typically would onboard. Yes. So the client didn't, I didn't really give enough. I didn't manage the positions enough. So
of course,
mid-project, it was too late to be saying, oh, I have a limit on how many revisions I can do, or I have this, I have that. Nah, the client just kept on going. She just kept on cashing out. I think eventually we went back to the original draft. This client is somebody that came to me and said, they just want a word mark, like they just want it typed in a nice way. That's all they want. It's a lie, yo. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. Did you hear me? It's a lie. In case you didn't hear, it's a lie. It's actually a lie. So, don't fall into that trap. Don't. If you can't take the job, like if it's not realistic for you, just it's better, because what the damage that project did to me was very, very extensive. It took a very, very long time for me to rebuild my confidence, because again, it really, really like that kind of thing. You're going to start questioning yourself, and again, I was burnt out. So I got to a point where I did not have any new ideas. I remember one of the oh God. Anyway, just if you can't do it, don't do it. Don't do it.
What an epic story. What an epic story. God. Quite funny. Man, so it's better to just let some clients go, like bye-bye.
100%.
Like, bye.
100%.
Than taking it. 100%. So I think okay. I think that's all.
Yeah.
That's all. So I want to thank you before we go. Did anybody tell you that? Has anybody told you that you look like Tasha Cobbs?
Have you been told for every time I receive these comments?
You look like Tasha Cobbs.
I don't know if I really do, but yes, I get that a lot. A friend of mine calls me Tasha Cobbs. That's my permanent nickname. So I
seriously.
I get that was a bit.
You look like us.
If anybody had any questions, because I think somebody was saying they had a question before.
Questions.
I know it's a small crowd.
You can drop your questions. So the new shouts, you can drop your questions if you have any. Zoe, Tiana, you can drop your question if you have any. You can drop your question. Drop your questions. So I told you we are going to have a creative game, right?
Yeah, good.
So before we get to it, it's just something. It's just a fun game. Okay, I'm going to give you two options. You pick one, or you pick two. One or two. Which one do you pick?
Two.
Pick two.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a photographer and maybe a creative director at a photography company, and you were asked to like illustrate with using photography, like the word confidence, what would you do?
What would I do?
Yes. How would you direct the photography, like to portray confidence? How would you direct? You have everybody, you have all the things. How would you bring things together? Like,
that's a very interesting question that you'd ask me about photography. I don't know. Maybe I have to be a photographer to answer that question.
You're a photographer. If you were a photographer,
I don't know. I think confidence is something that's very from within. So I don't think that's a it's something that is very directed. Like if I were a photographer, like I don't think I would allowing people to be themselves is the most your the most confident version of you is your truest self, right? So I think, if I were a photographer, I would kind of just focus on letting my subjects be themselves in front of the camera. I think that
As
would be
themselves.
yeah, because your most confident self is your truest self. That's my opinion. I think just letting people be themselves in front of the camera. I think when we try to direct these things too much, like that's the opposite of confidence. We're saying, okay, this is what confidence looks like. Well, no, it's not.
Wow. Just the explanation alone is very, very, very spontaneous. Allowing people to just be themselves on camera, directly to the camera, like taking a posture, just be themselves. If they have any deformity or any kind of blemish, right?
Yeah, anything.
Just
Whether
stand to
they see themselves as blemished or not.
Okay, I'll just one question came to my mind. I'll just ask, have you ever done a logo that maybe after doing the logo and submitting everything, you looked at the logo again and felt like adding something or removing something from the logo? Just felt like this thing
Yeah,
this is not right. Have you
I
ever felt
had
that way?
I had
Mm,
one project where the
okay,
stroke weight wasn't even. I'm very in-now, so honestly, I think that's a common feeling for me.
okay.
The stroke weight wasn't even. It was weird. Not weird, but it was just not balanced. I could see it very, very clearly. But it was one of those projects I was trying to end. Wasn't really my style, but
Like the
like,
client is not able to see it,
and
right?
yeah, the client can't see it obviously, but I could not unsee it. So
Yes.
in terms of logos, but I think that
Mm,
happens to me more with like posters and things like that. But there's
yeah,
definitely one project I can think back to as a logo that I think, oh,
okay.
typically with logos, because there's so many rounds, I get to
Yes.
tweak it. So maybe I send it and the client is kind of aligned. I kind of sit down with it again and clean it up. So I don't really, really have that too much with logos. But with posters, yes. Like I'll be like, maybe if I'd added this thing or taken out this thing here.
Okay. We're going to round up just in 3 minutes. Have you ever sent a creative brief to your
So my
client?
clients, 100%
Always,
now.
always.
That's standard
That
practice.
one,
I recommend it.
always do
Huh?
that. Yes,
Yeah, I
yes, it's
recommend it
always.
because that's how you
Hmm,
know that you're aligned. I tell my clients anything out of the brief, I can like you get like I send a
of
brief
course,
so that like the client has to align on the brief so that I'm not just working out of thin air.
of course, of course. So I think that's all. I really loved your answer. You were very spontaneous. I loved your answer on the confidence stuff. So you
Thank you
tried.
for
So
having me.
I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for the honor for honoring my invitation, and I hope to have maybe in the future other conversations. Promise me where everybody like promise me live so that
Nothing is promised though.
promise me
What can I
live like
say?
live. Eh?
Nothing is promised, but I mean, 100%. Reach out if anything. If it's
Like
something that
we're not
I,
missing anything. Like just promise me last. The way everybody can see you now. Promise me.
if it's
Uh-huh.
something that works for both of us, sure. I
Works for you.
promise that
Okay.
I will be a part of
Okay.
it. If it's something that works for both parties.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I had a
you
nice
very
day.
much.
Thank you
Have a
very much.
no
All right.
worries. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. I want to really thank everybody for joining. It was really exciting. Thank you, Danny. You were engaged all throughout. Thank you, Eita Olua. Eita Olua. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Nana Kwame. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. I really appreciate it. We're a bit late, but you guys stayed throughout the program. Thank you very much. Round of applause for you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a nice conversation. I really want to appreciate everybody for joining. You can check out our YouTube. We have great, amazing content. Like we talked on design style. I have a video on my YouTube for design style. I have a video on my YouTube rather. I have a video on my YouTube that is on design style and very insightful contents on my YouTube. You can check it out. You can also follow TOSIN. You can follow TOSIN for more content. She has a design page, TOSBox, at TOSBox here on Instagram. You can follow her, and we are going to wrap everything up now. I want to thank you all for joining. So goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.